My 22F twin, 22F, has slept or tried to sleep with every one of my boyfriends. Don't want her to meet current boyfriend, 23M, of 8 months. This has happened with every single guy I've dated or been interested in. I've only had 3 relationships before my current one with John. My twin sister Sarah has tried to interfere with all of them. 2 of my exes cheated on me with her. The third we broke up for other reasons, but Sarah still tried to seduce him. He was a good guy and always had boundaries with her, but that didn't stop her from trying. To the point of sending him nudes multiple times, then claiming oops, wrong person when he told her he wasn't interested. When that didn't work, she also tried to break us up by lying to my ex and our mutual friends that I was cheating. My ex didn't believe her, but some friends did. So yeah, that was fun to deal with. Then, when we were kids, like in middle high school, if Sarah found out I had a crush, she went after the guy herself. I used to tell her those things because, well, isn't that what sisters do? She always used it against me. I told her I was working up the courage to ask my crush, the guy I was talking to prom. She then asked him and he said yes. She said he'd just been using me to get to her. Another time, a few years before that, she announced to everyone in a class we shared that I liked this one boy who got bullied at LOT kids, then started teasing him even more and he hated me. I felt horrible for months. She thought it was the funniest thing ever. She also once told a teacher whose class I was doing bad in that I was into him and willing to do favors for better grades. That got reported and I had to go through this whole counseling thing before it was finally cleared up. It was extremely embarrassing. My sister just blew it off as a prank. There's so many other situations like this. She either gets guys who are interested in me to sleep with her or ruins my chances with them by making up bullshit to make me look bad. She's ruined some of my friendships lying about me too, told my best friend in high school I was gossiping meanly about her, and went so far as faking text messages. I don't know if she even actually wants these people for herself. You might think it's obviously jealousy, but sometimes I honestly think she just gets a kick out of messing with me. Anyway, I've finally got my life more together after wasting the first couple years of college on being depressed and a gaming addiction. I met my boyfriend John at a campus organization. I haven't told Sarah, but he ended up meeting my parents by accident today. I don't have much contact with them, but they decided to come for a surprise visit. They live over 5 hours away and do this a few times a semester, even though I've said I don't like it. But that's for another post. John was in my room with me when they got here. I had no choice but to introduce them. He knows I was holding off on having them meet because I don't have the greatest relationship with them. Sarah lives at home with my parents while going to college locally. I'm certain they're going to mention meeting my boyfriend. And then cue her insisting on coming with them the next time they surprise visit me. Also stalking my social medias to try to figure out who he is. I've tried to explain the issues I have with her to my parents. They think I'm overreacting. They say she just wants to know what's going on in my life. To be involved. Yes, that is the problem, her involvement. And, not to mention, we used to be closer before I lost trust in her to stop doing this shit, so I've seen what her own life is like. She does things my parents have no idea of. She takes party drugs sometimes. This wouldn't be a big deal, but she has no idea how to be responsible. She drives people around while drunk and high. My parents think she's with a friend studying on weekends, but she's actually clubbing in the city and then crashes with her friends for the night. I'm not sure how many real boyfriends she's had, but she's hooked up with a lot of guys the same night she met them. This has meant a few times she was scared of pregnancy. I've had to help her get Plan B. It sometimes feels like she sleeps with nearly any man that smiles at her, and told me she's even had sex with a few girls while wasted. However that's possible. She confides all these things to me, but whenever I need someone to talk to, she has no time. Never wants to hear anything unless she can save it as ammo. So I've gradually stopped telling her most things. If my parents knew all this, they might see where I'm coming from. It's not just random that I don't want her meeting my boyfriend. It's not because I want to hurt her or something. The problem is, our parents are really strict and traditional, and they'd probably kick her out if I told them any of that. They don't believe in sex before marriage. My boyfriend is the first person I've had sex with, and I'm afraid my sister could use that against me to them if she finds out. So what do I do? How can I keep Sarah from finding out about him and doing the same thing she's done with all my past boyfriends? How do I explain it to my parents? TLDR, my sister has a pattern of interfering with my relationships. She's gotten guys to cheat on me with her. My parents accidentally met him today and will probably tell her. How do I keep her away from him? Update. So I've made a lot of changes in my family life since I posted this a couple weeks ago. I first told everything to my boyfriend. He was shocked and assured me he'd never cheat on me with my sister or anyone else. He also respected that I didn't want her to meet him. I decided to take the advice given and block her on social media. She immediately noticed, like within 10 minutes after I'd blocked, she sent a text saying, "Did you block me on Instagram and Facebook?" So I didn't beat around the bush. I said yes because I didn't like how she's messed with my personal relationships. She tried to guilt trip me about how I hadn't told her about my boyfriend, which means my parents must have told her about him like I knew they would. She exploded at me because according to her she would never have tried to stalk him or anything, but I hadn't even gotten a chance to say I was worried she'd do this. She said it first, so what does that say? I told her I flat out didn't trust her to not try to take people from me. She called me psycho and selfish, but whatever really. I can't reason with her. She just never sees the problem with anything she's done. The way she thinks makes it like arguing with a young child almost. I blocked her number. I still feel kind of bad doing this because what if there was an emergency and she needed me? But we live hours apart, so I hope my parents would be who she contacted in that case. Then, as for them, I also got a call from my mom soon after I blocked my sister, who wanted to know what I was doing because she was upset. She'd already heard my sister's side, which was just that I'd blocked her out of nowhere. So I tried to tell her my side. I did not tell her my sister's personal business about drugs and having sex. Like I said in the first post, I'm not going to fall to petty revenge. I just want her to stop interfering in my life. So all I said was that in the past she's been inappropriate with guys I've dated and has spread rumors about me, and it made me unable to trust her. My mom then wanted to know what I meant by inappropriate. My parents are really conservative and don't believe in having sex before marriage. She also got my dad on the call at this point. I told them the details didn't matter. She kept trying to go back to this point, even wanting to know if I had been having premarital sex. It was really frustrating. I told them the point I'm trying to make is that my sister has broken my trust. They began saying I should forgive her because they care about our family and don't want to see us fighting. Well, I'm not exactly fighting. I'm simply not going to be in contact with her. To them it's the same thing. Then they wanted me to come home for a weekend to discuss everything as a family. I said I wasn't going to do that I'd made my decision, and have no time for a trip. They said they'd come to me then. That brought up how they show up for random visits even when I've said I don't like it. I told them I didn't want them doing that anymore, and if they did it again I wouldn't let them in or talk with them. So they flipped out. That was fun. I got to hear all how I'm constantly making problems and don't care about my family. I ended up having to block their numbers because they kept calling back. And blocking on Facebook because they were sending messages going back and forth between begging to talk and accusing me of being a terrible daughter and sister. I don't know WTF I'm going to do about them. They did threaten to stop paying for my college if I cut them out of my life. I unblocked them to say I want to be in touch with them and do love them, but I can't do the unexpected visits, or them prying into my personal life. I said if they stop doing that then I'm happy to have a relationship with them. They had a million reasons why I'm in the wrong. I couldn't deal with it and reblocked them yesterday. So I don't know what my tuition deal is going to be now. My boyfriend at least has been really supportive during this shit. He thinks my parents are way out of line and my sister is crazy. He's really helped keep me as sane as I can be. Overall I just feel really shitty. I wish any of them would ever listen to what I say. But if they won't, then what can I do besides put up with what you all pointed out was really controlling, or take more control back myself? It just sucks it has to be so final, I guess. I wouldn't mind a middle ground like planning a visit with them once in a while, or talking with my sister about non-personal things, but they want way more than I do. TLDR, I'm not going to be in contact with my family for the foreseeable future. Second story. My 24M girlfriend, 24F, and my brother, 26M, got into a fist fight over a political argument, and now my family is demanding I break up with her. I introduced my girlfriend to my parents, siblings and extended family on a family get-together a few days ago. This was the first time I had seen them since the start of the pandemic, and it started out really well with everyone getting along and having fun. That would change as more alcohol was consumed. My girlfriend and brother got into a heated political argument that suddenly escalated to violence, resulting in substantial injuries for both of them. Accounts of who threw the first punch differ, and I frankly don't care, as they both actively contributed to the fight and antagonized each other. The fight was eventually broken up when my girlfriend had the clear advantage. My mom screamed at my girlfriend to leave, so we left. I love both my girlfriend and my brother, and I don't blame either one of them for the fight more than I blame the other. My girlfriend also doesn't seem to hold any grudges and is embarrassed by her behavior during the incident. My brother and parents, on the other hand, place 100% of the blame on my girlfriend and demand that I break up with her or they will cut all ties with me. I will not do that, but I want to maintain my relationship with my family and somehow get them to accept my girlfriend and that she should not bear all blame for this incident. My brother is also demanding that my girlfriend pay for his alleged medical expenses and is threatening to report her to the police if she refuses. My experience of growing up in this town makes me think sexism in the local police department makes it unlikely that anything would come of that report, as they would almost certainly refuse to consider the possibility that a woman can assault a man. I have offered to pay off my brother, but my girlfriend refuses to let me do that and says that she will pay him if he can prove that the medical expenses are real. My girlfriend still has clearly visible injuries but did not visit the hospital. I suggested that she go to get her injuries documented, but she doesn't want to do that. I just wish everyone could forget about this and move forward, but writing this makes me think my family is acting unreasonably and perhaps I should just cut contact with them, as they are threatening to do with me. Perhaps growing up with these people makes me blind to how ridiculous their behavior is. I don't know what I should do. Update. Thank you for all the advice and apologies for the vagueness of my original post. I showed it to my girlfriend and she agreed that it was vague and thought I left out important details. I will let her provide those details at the end. You convinced me that it may actually matter who throw the first punch. Before making the original post, I had heard two mutually exclusive versions of events. One told by my girlfriend and one told by my parents and my brother. It's honestly very hard for me to believe that any of them would lie about something like this. I have since reached out to everyone else who may have seen how it started and received two relevant replies. One from my aunt, who confirmed my parents' and brother's version, and one from my youngest sister, 18F, who described a scenario similar to what my girlfriend had told me. Everyone who sided with my brother has obviously had the opportunity to talk with him and each other and intentionally or unintentionally influence each other's story. It's very unlikely that my girlfriend and sister has done that, as they don't know each other and my sister would have no reason to lie for my girlfriend. I don't think there is a reasonable explanation for them telling the same story other than that it's the truth. I'm therefore almost certain that my brother hit my girlfriend first. My parents have recanted the threat to cut ties with me for not breaking up with my girlfriend, but they are still saying that she is not welcome back to their home and will never be part of our family. I'm honestly done with them at this point. She has done everything and more, including being willing to pay for his medical expenses, and my brother refused to even hear her apology, much less make his own or take any responsibility at all. At this point, I'm 100% behind my girlfriend, just as my parents are 100% behind my brother. Many people commenting on the original post asked if my brother is racist or assumed that he is after I revealed what the argument was about. I'm honestly not sure how to answer that. My brother sometimes repeats racist talking points from TV and social media, especially against Hispanic people, but last year he was strongly against the deportation of a neighboring family who had immigrated from Mexico. He even, probably facetiously, suggested that their deportation was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's immigration policy by deporting good people instead of violent criminals. I have never heard my brother use a racial slur or seen him treat anyone differently because of their race. I guess the answer depends on how you define racism. TLDR, my brother probably threw the first punch and my family won't cut ties with me completely, but I'm mostly done with them. My girlfriend's comment. This is what I think happened based on what I remember, assume, and was told afterwards. It's probably not entirely correct. We were all sitting around a big outdoor table. I was sitting between my boyfriend and his brother. We talked about non-political things like places we had been or wanted to travel to, but then someone mentioned the protests and my boyfriend's brother immediately responded by calling the protesters terrorists. I asked what made them terrorists and if the cops were also terrorists by that definition. I don't remember how he responded, but the argument continued from there. We were drinking progressively more alcohol as we continued to argue, almost like if we were in an unspoken drinking contest. At some point we both stood up and continued to argue loudly while getting in each other's face. My boyfriend tried to separate us by pulling us away from each other and by attempting to stand between us, but we ignored him and continued. My boyfriend really doesn't like conflict or people screaming, and he was probably very frustrated at that time, so he left and went into the house. We were both angry and I definitely wanted to punch him, but I still had enough self-control to restrain myself. I fully believe in freedom of speech, and I know that violence is never an acceptable response to someone expressing an opinion. Then he punched me with a closed fist in the face. I don't remember feeling afraid or like I was defending myself when I hit back. What I felt was a strange mix of hatred and excitement. We traded a few punches and then one of mine caused him to fall to the ground. I imminently kicked him in the chest and was then pulled away from him by his dad. That kick is what I regret the most. It was excessive, dangerous, and completely unnecessary. I kicked someone laying defenselessly on the ground and I didn't feel anything for him until several hours later. I'm terrified of the person I was then, but that person is still me. I did that, but I can't understand why. I was not afraid and I remember doing it deliberately. I keep thinking about what would have happened if no one was around to stop me after that kick. Would I have kicked him again? How many times? I can't answer those questions, and that's the most terrifying thing. My boyfriend wrote that we both had substantial injuries. I don't think that's true. I had a black eye and some bruises. My boyfriend's brother had a broken rib and a concussion. My injuries were not substantial compared to his, which is why I don't think it's unfair for me to pay for his medical bills. I would have done that even without the threat of reporting me to the police. Some comments on the post indicated that my boyfriend's brother should either be more to blame or should feel ashamed of losing because of his gender. I disagree. Gender should not have anything to do with this. It's possible that he feels differently and is ashamed of losing to a woman, but I don't think he should feel that way even within that value system, as it was essentially random. He could just as well have knocked me to the ground with his first punch. I don't think strength or skills played any significant role.